going on, guys? It's your boy Dom Kemp, and tonight we are talking about LeBron James. Yes, it did happen last night, guys, but I haven't had any time to get in front of my laptop today due to the fact that, as I told you guys, I do work during the week. But guys, I'm going to start back up something that I began, guys, and that's uploading a podcast of some sort, whether it's basketball, soccer, or of course the NFL. Guys, I will be bringing that back, guys. I will be uploading every day starting from now on. So those of you who are listening to the podcast right now, welcome. And I hope you guys are excited because I'm going to be uploading every day. Whichever news is the biggest in my opinion, that is what we're going to be talking about in this podcast. Now, guys, you're probably reading the title of this podcast and thinking, LeBron James to San Antonio, ? Really? Well, guys, of course, there has been no deal done with it. But guys, I am saying this because I listen to a lot of ESPN radio. I listen to a lot of the top analysts such as Stephen A. Smith, Max Kellerman, a lot of ESPN people, and they've been talking about this, guys, starting this morning. And guys, I've had all day to think about it, and I've had all day to write down some notes about LeBron James and whether or not it could fit for him in San Antonio or even the Houston Rockets. Now, guys, of course, mainly we're going to be talking about San Antonio. Now, San Antonio, guys, is a place that Greg Popovich pretty much runs. Great stars have played there, such as Tim Duncan, David Robinson, and much, much more. As well as, of course, current stars who are still there, Manu Ginobili and Tony Parker, respectively. As well as, of course, an injured Kawhi Leonard. Now, we think about what? How can this work? How can LeBron go with Greg Popovich? How can the San Antonio Spurs snatch up LeBron? Here's how I'm going to say this, guys. Is that LeBron James, he can go wherever he wants. But the thing is, the owner, Dan Gilbert, he is struggling to figure out what life will be like in Cleveland after LeBron James. And there's many cycles circling around it, guys. I'm pretty sure if you're a Cleveland Cavaliers fan or just a fan of the NBA in general, you have noticed a lot of weird things happening. First and foremost, the Cavaliers blaming Kevin Love for not staying in the locker room after he went out with a sickness. He literally went home, sat on his couch, and probably watched the rest of the game and saw, wow, the Oklahoma City Thunder put up 148 points. But in this stance, guys, Kevin Love is not the scapegoat. The Cleveland Cavaliers had a team meeting about this. And I'm trying to understand, how do you go from talking about the team and how pretty much, in my opinion, and a lot of other opinions around the NBA, is terrible, not even a contender in many people's eyes. The biggest contender right now, in my opinion, if I had to say someone as a contender, would be the Houston Rockets to the Golden State Warriors. But, of course, they're a Western Conference team. So if I had to pick an Eastern Conference team as a threat to make the finals instead of the Cavaliers, it would either be the Boston Celtics or the Toronto Raptors. Now, many people say, oh, the Toronto Raptors are finally coming along. Well, they show up in the regular season, but they do not necessarily show up in the postseason. Now, I'm going to be talking about a bunch of things right now, guys. And please, if you have a paper, write down these notes because this is something that can possibly happen. Many of you might forget that LeBron James is a Dallas Cowboys fan. And where are Dallas? In Texas, in the state of Texas. Now, understand, here's another reason why these two teams are considered for LeBron. Stephen A. Smith said a couple weeks back that from LeBron's camp, he's leaning towards Houston because of James Harden and Chris Paul. Those are his friends. Those are his buddies, like Dwayne Wade is right now in Cleveland. And a lot of speculation is happening, guys, around the league. But the thing is, will LeBron leave before the trade deadline? Sorry about that, guys. And I'm focused on soccer. Sorry about that. The trade deadline, and even though it's pretty much the exact same thing, trade and transfer. But if you really think about it, it's pretty interesting to think about, guys, in this stance of just, what if the Houston Rockets got LeBron James? Boy, oh boy, would that be a team to be reckoned with. That would be possibly a title contender straight out the gate. Knocking off the Warriors and playing whatever Eastern Conference team wants to get in their way in the finals. But of course, it's hard to trade, especially a player of LeBron's caliber, when he knows where he wants to go, but he doesn't want to tell the owner. He doesn't want to extend his contract or anything like that, which I do not blame him. trust me, things are boiling over in Cleveland right now. And it's a struggle for LeBron to understand the fact that he is getting older. He's not getting younger. Has a lot of tread on his tires. By the way, just wanted to congratulate LeBron James on 30,000 career points. Last night he did get that against the San Antonio Spurs. Even though they did lose, guys, they lost once again. He had 28 points, 9 rebounds, and 7 assists, shooting 43.5% from the field and 33.3% from the three-point range. Now, it's interesting to think about this, guys, because if we look at LeBron James' stats right now, his season stats of this season, 26 points, almost 27 points a game, almost 8 rebounds a game, and almost 9 assists a game for this season alone. He's pretty much exceeding his career rebound and assist totals at 7.3 and 7.1 respectively. But guys, absolutely absolutely insane to think about. Now, guys, if we really think about it, we're going to go into detail with LeBron James and how much he's getting paid right now. He's getting paid $30 million, $31 million right now on a salary as of 2017. Now, the thing is, if he wants to go to the San Antonio Spurs or the Houston Rockets, they're going to have to clear out. They're going to have to pretty much get rid of players that are on huge contracts. Now, I don't think the Rockets will get rid of course, James Harden and Chris Paul. They're working fantastically right now in Houston. But the thing about the San Antonio Spurs, lots of things are happening with Kawhi Leonard. He's not happy with the Spurs training, stuff like that. Not even training, an injury, because he's hurt once again, guys. He was hurt at the beginning of the season, missed a lot of games. He only played about 9 games, I believe, and then he re-injured himself. So he's pretty mad at the training staff for the San Antonio Spurs. And even though he doesn't talk, when Kawhi's mad, he's mad. So, guys, look at LeBron James' net worth. It's $400 million. So, of course, he's not really needing the money. He just wants to play for a title contender where he doesn't have to do so much, which I do not blame him, because think about it. Kevin Durant, he left Oklahoma City and joined the rival Golden State Warriors. That's why Russell Westbrook and him aren't on good terms, because he literally did it behind his back. And I'll be honest. I do not blame Kevin Durant for making that move, but it was a weak move. But then again, if you think about it, LeBron James in Cleveland, he didn't have anybody around him. He's the one who builds his own teams. And that's what's so amazing about him. And that's what, in my opinion, makes him better than most of the great players. He goes to a team and he wants certain players. He builds around himself pretty much. He asks the owner certain things. He asks for input. He gets the input and he just builds around himself. Now, it's interesting to think about a player like LeBron James building around himself, which, of course, last night he was the youngest player to reach 30,000 career points. Have to give him credit. Kobe Bryant reached it when he was 34. LeBron reached it when he was 33 in 23 days, I think. Pretty insane to think about a great like him. So, I'll be honest. LeBron James, he doesn't need a max contract. He doesn't need how much he's making in Cleveland. He already got his whole team paid. But what I'm trying to say is this. If he goes to San Antonio with Greg Popovich, they're already on good terms. But that's including him enjoying his favorite football team, the Dallas Cowboys, which are stationed in Texas, by the way. And that's not including, have my notes right here. Hold up. That's also not including a couple of other things, a couple other tasks that he can just help out. Because if somehow the San Antonio Spurs can keep Kawhi Leonard, and then keep this Murray kid who absolutely lit up the Cavaliers last night, if somehow they can keep them all together, Greg Popovich, imagine what Greg Popovich would do for a player like LeBron James. He doesn't care. Man, possibly the only players he wouldn't get rid of would be Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili, and Leonard, and LaMarcus Aldridge. Those are the 4 players that are his untouchables, in my opinion. Unless you can make a trade maybe for LaMarcus Aldridge included before the trade deadline. But of course, LeBron James is going to be a free agent at the end of the season, guys. So that's another thing to consider. So do the Cavs want to get rid of him now? By the way, he does have a no trade clause, so that's going to be interesting. He can waive that no trade clause and then go to the team of his choice. But if he wants to go somewhere, then the team that wants him needs to pay his no trade clause. And I don't know how much that is exactly. Pretty interesting right there in that sense, guys. So thinking about it, guys, it would be an interesting move. It would help the Spurs get better. It would help Greg Popovich be a title contender once again. Not that he isn't already, but since Kawhi Leonard has gone down, there's a slim chance. There's a slim chance that the San Antonio Spurs will be able to beat the Warriors, guys, and I believe they will be at the end of this season a 3rd or 4th seed in the Western Conference, behind, of course, the Rockets and the Warriors, maybe even the Oklahoma City Thunder, due to the fact that they're coming along pretty nicely. Russell Westbrook, Paul George, and Carmelo. But, guys, that's what I wanted to talk about LeBron James. Now, guys, it's time to talk about a little bit of the all-star selections, guys. The all-star reserves and things of that sort, and in my opinion, on how that went down. Now, guys, this is going to be a pretty extended podcast due to the fact that I don't want to make a separate podcast just over the all-star snubs and stuff like that, guys. Since we're already on the topic of basketball, might as well. So 2018 all-star, here it is, an all-star game. Now, if you guys haven't already realized, it is going to be on February 18th at 6 p.m. And it's All-Star Weekend, so it's going to be all weekend from Friday to Sunday, guys. So that should be interesting. I don't think I'm going to watch it, really. I'll probably watch the highlights, the extended highlights, which I always do with basketball games and things of that sort. Now, guys, first and foremost, we're going to talk about the All-Star Game reserves and things of that sort. Now, this is interesting. On the Eastern side, guys, here are the All-Star reserves. We got 2 Washington Wizards players, and I'm pretty sure you guys already know who that is. John Wall and Bradley Beal. Al Horford, Kevin Love, Kyle Lowry, Victor Oladipo, and Kristaps Porzingis. The only person that has a losing record has made the All-Star game is Kristaps Porzingis from the New York Knicks. So, guys, it's going to be interesting this year due to the fact that, of course, there are team captains. And as of now, it's LeBron James and Stephen Curry, guys. So they can choose any players they want to put, guys. So it's not necessarily going to be Eastern versus Western All-Stars like it's been the past couple years. No, like it's always been, pretty much. It's going to be who's going to pick who and who's going to be upset about it, guys. And, of course, it's not going to be televised, so it's that pretty much negates the point of even having captains, in my opinion. So, guys, what we're going to talk about, guys, is Horford is part of the seasoned group of All-Stars from the East, led by LeBron James, Kyrie Irving, DeMar DeRozan, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Joel Embiid, rounding out the group, plus New York's Kristaps Porzingis, Indiana's Victor Oladipo, and Washington's Bradley Beal as reserves. It's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out, guys, especially since LeBron James is going to be picking his team. Imagine LeBron and Kevin Durant on the same team. Yeah, that's right. It never has happened in the All-Star game because every year Kevin Durant's been on the Western All-Stars and LeBron's been in the Eastern All-Stars. But since this is pretty much a pickup game, guys, your best 5 versus my best 5, it's going to be pretty interesting to think about. And, of course, once again, LeBron is in the topic of conversation, especially if it's a basketball podcast. His name is always going to pop up in my podcast, so stay tuned for that down the road whenever he makes a move. So pretty interesting, guys, in that sense. Those are the reserves. But the snubs, here's the main thing, guys, to think about, is the All-Star snubs. Now, guys, the big one, in my opinion, is Paul George. Paul George, he doesn't deserve to be left out. Even Russell Westbrook commented. He said there are four Golden State Warriors players who've made the All-Star game. In which I'll say this. The only person I don't think should have made the All-Star game was Draymond Green. Now, many of you are probably like, that makes sense. Klay Thompson, he's a shooter. Kevin Durant, he's a shooter. Stephen Curry, he's a shooter. They all 3 deserve. But, guys, if I go to Draymond Green's stats and see what he's putting up this season compared to last season, not as popular as the other 3. Oh, perfect. Draymond Green stats pop straight up. Yeah, guys, not that good. Like, let's just be honest. His entire career has been 9.2 points, 6.9 rebounds, 4.4 assists. And this year has been 11.3 points, 7.8 rebounds, and 7.5 assists. Yes, he's a walking triple-double. Fantastic. But does he really deserve to be in this year's All-Star game? Now, think about this. Some of the notable players, as I told you guys before, the All-Star snubs. Paul George is one of them. Lou Williams, who is averaging 23.3 points per game, 5.3 assists a night for the Clippers, on 29 points a game in January. He's been averaging at 29 points. Another player, Damian Lillard, great example. He's literally putting Portland on his back. He's putting Portland on his back. Another one, Chris Paul. He likely didn't get selected because he has missed 17 games this season, but Stephen Curry missed 15 and is a captain. That's because the fans voted. Understand that. Who do the majority of fans like better? Let's just think about it. Stephen Curry or Chris Paul. Stephen Curry. Straight up. When CP3 played, he's been brilliant, averaging 19.1 points and 8.9 assists per game. He's been crucial to improving Rockets' defense this season. Amazing. Amazing. Chris Paul got snubbed. Another player who's been pretty much non-existent in the conversation, Andre Drummond from the Detroit Pistons. The coaches went with 4 guards for the East reserves, and that left just 3 front court spots and 4 deserving players. Drummond is the odd man out, which sucks. He's averaging 14.3 points per game on 54% shooting, and he remains the best rebounder in the game today, pulling down 15 a night. Oh my goodness gracious. He's literally a walking double-double. 14 points and 15 rebounds. Imagine having a guy like that snubbed. This is what Andre Drummond tweeted out, by the way. And I quote, "I guess I gotta start doing backflips after every point I score to get attention around here. Laugh my blank off, on to the next." Getting snubbed. Not fair. Not fair at all. But in my opinion, guys, I think they should go to the position basketball. Point guard, shooting guard. But I understand that the lineups are mostly going to be guards. Whether it's a shooting guard, whether it's a point guard. Those are what the lineups are going to be. And they're probably going to be playing someone like LeBron at center. Which I understand. It's an all-star game. I get that. But players are getting snubbed because of positionless basketball. And that's pretty much what the all-star game is. And that's pretty much what the entire NBA is right now, guys. It's positionless basketball. In my opinion, it should not be like that. If it's an all-star game, it should be the best player at each position. Not having 4 or 5 point guards in the starting lineup. But that's just me, guys. That's just me. Another player who got subbed, as I told you guys before, Paul George. He's averaging 20.8 points per game and shooting 42.9% from 3 on one end of the floor. And defensively, he's averaging 4.4 deflections per game and has 93 steals. Both tops in the league. George is a 4-time All-Star and feels it's weird to see him left out. Well, Paul George, you brought this on yourself. If you would have stayed with Indiana, then you could have been an Eastern Conference All-Star. But you went to the Western Conference, and understand, at that position, small forward. Think about the names. We have Kevin Durant. First and foremost, almost every year he's going to be a Western Conference starter. Another player, Jimmy Butler. Another player. I can't really think of them at the top of my head, but there's a lot of players at the small forward position on the Western Conference side. If he stayed in the Eastern Conference, he would have been an All-Star easily. But who's an All-Star instead of you, Paul George? Victor Oladipo for Indiana. So that's on you, buddy. That's on you. Understand that there are better players in the Western Conference, in my opinion, than in the Eastern Conference. And think about that. It's hard to vote for the All-Stars, especially when they're just that good. George is a 4-time All-Star. Feels weird to see him left out, but he came to ridiculous deep Western Conference, as I just said, and good players were not going to make it. He's the odd man out in the front court. And then number 5, Kemba Walker, Charlotte Hornets. Now, I'll be honest, he's not really someone who really impresses me as much, but hey, that's just my opinion. He's playing for a team like Charlotte who has no one around them. But, of course, That's how All-Stars are born, when they're playing by themselves. He could have got a lot of directions here. Ben Simmons and Goran Dragic can make their cases on appeal, but people have been sleeping on just how well Walker's been playing this season. Walker's averaging an efficient 21.8 points per game, dishing out 5.9 assists per night, and when he's on the court, the Hornets outscore teams by 5.1 points per 100 possessions. That's better than the Celtics or Timberwolves' net ratings for the season. Now, of course, guys, it's very hard to think about not having an All-Star game without the likes of Kevin Durant and LeBron James. It makes sense, right? Having an All-Star game with these great players. It definitely makes sense. But I'm just saying that some players who deserve to be in there, some players who didn't deserve to be in there. I'll say Draymond Green, he shouldn't have been in there, guys. Draymond Green shouldn't have been in there. And what I'm trying to understand is it says right on the All-Star Los Angeles 2018, it says end date February 18th. Start date February 20th. That's backwards, first and foremost. That is backwards. But other than that, just an interesting conversation, guys. I want to get you guys' opinion down below. Who would your starting lineup be if you were a captain of one of these All-Star teams? And how do you feel about Draymond Green getting in there, even though he's not really... Man, it's hard for me to say this. It's hard for me to say this. You guys can call me a Golden State Warrior hater or whatever, but guys, it's not really deserving for Draymond to be in there. He should not be in there, in my opinion at least, guys. But hey, let me know your opinion down below. Please, guys, as long as it's an opinion that's not swearing at me, cussing at me, oh, you're just jealous. No, please, I don't read those comments. I will delete them. Actually, I read them, but then I respond, and then that makes you look dumb. So please, the comments that are productive to the conversation and productive to the podcast, as well as, of course, LeBron James and how he can fare in either Houston or San Antonio, whether in the offseason or at the end of the trade deadline. Let me know those, please, guys, in the comment section down below. I will be coming back with another podcast tomorrow. It depends on what happens in the sports world. I will be talking about that as well. So I thank you so much for listening to the podcast. Like the podcast if you like it. Subscribe if you're new. This has been an NBA season 2017-2018 podcast. I have the playlist on the channel, so go ahead and check it out if you missed anything from that. But guys, I'm going to be going back to uploading daily, so stay tuned for that. It should be definitely so very fun, and I hope that you guys enjoy. Lost a subscriber recently, but I hope that we can gain it back. Of course, 50 subscribers is my goal. Within the next month, 50 subscribers is my goal right now, guys. So please, that would be much appreciated on 42 right now. So much appreciated to those of you who have been subscribing as of late. Thank you for listening, and I'll talk to you guys later. Peace, guys. Wow.